Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dears. We will be discussing in this video the major themes of the play Arms and the Men, written by George Bernard Shaw. So let's start. The first theme is identity, authenticity, and self expression. The play emphasizes the importance of remaining authentic to yourself. Many characters in the play are liberated once they learn, stop performing for others, and express themselves honestly. They are always acting for the sake of others. They perform different roles for their family members and for their friends. Both Raina and Sergius act out different roles depending on who they are with. Sergius supposes that he is six different men, all wrapped into one, because with every person he acts differently. Raina speaks with a certain kind of passion and drama deliberately because she thinks that it has a desired effect on the listeners. They both do a good deal of acting. Shah also implicitly asks, what things beside behavior determine identity, and how can you define identity? So the question is it our profession? Is only soldier word can define the identity of Blanchlet? The same question could be asked about Nicola. Only the word servant can define the identity of Nicola, or he is more respectful, or having more prestigious status in the society. Do our families and our names define us? This is the question that is being asked in this play. Raina often speaks of herself as though her status as a pet cop is integral to who she is. These characters triumph and form happy relationships once they cease performing for the benefit of their family members and their friends. And when they cease performing for their family members, they become acting authentically and they live happily. Raina is able to let go of her romantic, youthful, and aristocratic ideas and be herself with Blanchlet, who can only admit his love for Raina after he lets go his stupidity and his foolishness and admits that he has a romantic side in his personality. Then when we look at Lauka and Sergius in terms of identity and authenticity, we also see that both of them end up together once Sergius admits he is not as sensitive and refined as he acts in front of others, and once Lauka freely admits that though she has been acting put off by Sergius, the affection is in fact mutual. In the late 1800s, Shah became an advocate for all the rights of workers, women, and racial minorities. He observed that certain groups of people were subjugated because of certain aspects of their identities, and in many ways, this play serves to deconstruct identity as many in the 1800s would have seen it. Something grounded in manners, social and economic standing, ancestry, race, and gender. This is very important to think about. That certain people they are subjugated and they are looked down upon in the society because of the certain aspect in their identities, and these simple certain aspects of identities either give them social credibility or people look at them as they are less human or they are less prestigious in the society. So it is very important. He also sees these divisions are not only economically or socially damaging but also psychologically damaging the whole society. In connection to this theme of identity, authenticity, and self expression, Shah questions these divisions in the play just as he questioned them in his activism. The play reveals that if cultures shape our identity for us, we fail to be happy. But if we can find a way to be authentic to ourselves, our lives become more and more honest and our relationships more and more fulfilling. In many ways, this emphasis on the importance of self expression could be a kind of implicit argument for the importance of the arts, which many perceived to be waning in importance in the increasingly industrialized and scientific world of the late 19th century, and people thought that art may lose its place in this industrialized world. But this emphasis on the self-expression and the importance of this implicit argument and the discussions of these very important and significant aspects of human life like identity, authenticity, self-explanation, it gives a soul, a universal soul to literature and art. This was the first theme. The second theme, romanticism or idealism versus realism. One of the central criticism of Arms and the Men is of the tendency of people to romanticize or idealize complex realities, in particular love and war. We common people sometimes romanticize and idealizes our love stories and war, our bravery and so many things. Literary romanticism began to decline right around the time Shah was born. And the play in many ways illustrates how and why romanticism historically failed. It could not accurately describe fundamental human experiences. Raina is the play's most obvious romantic character. Her relationship with Sergius, a Byronic hero, embodies almost all of the romantic ideals. They are both beautiful, refined, and appear to be infatuated with each other. However, this romantic idealistic vision of love does not stand up when reality sets in. And where reality sets in, and why and how reality sets in, it is through Captain Blanchlet. The genteel Sergius lusts animalistically, even sometimes violently. After the servant, Lauka and Raina is in love with the anti-romantic Blanchlet, their ideal romantic love is all an act. In reality, love is much more multifaceted and complicated than Raina and Sergius make it seem. Raina and Sergius' flawed romanticism also shows through in their conception of war. Raina waxes poetic about how Sergius is an ideal soldier, brave, ruthless, but fair. It turns out Sergius' cavalry charge was ill-advised, and the charge only succeeded because the opposing side didn't have the correct ammunition, otherwise they would have been killed. Sergius is not the perfect soldier, he is a farce. And the real soldier, Blanchlet, runs away from battles and carries sweets, chocolate instead of gun, because he knows the reality of human beings. Humans are weak. They cannot be that much idealized as Sergius has been idealized by Ryan. He also speaks honestly about the brutality and violence of war, which involves more drunkenness and abuse than it does heroics and gallantry. Shaw displays an interest in revealing human realities like love and war for what they really are, often ugly, contradictory, and thoroughly complex. He implicitly criticizes romantic art for avoiding these realities and giving us a sugar coated version of human life and human history. Conversely, his work puts forth the argument that art should be able to make sense of and account for human experiences. The third theme, class division. 19th century Europe was a place where divisions between the classes were becoming sharper and more damaging all the time. Industrialization and a widening wage gap gave rise to a socialist movement determined to protect members of the working class and poor from exploitation. Predictably, Shah, a socialist and activist, seeks to undermine the significance of class division in his play, and he depicted this theme very artistically in this play. The book persistently points out that divisions between classes is unethical and unjust. The play maintains that in fact there is no inherent differences between a member of the working class and a member of the aristocratic class beyond the way they are treated by the society. It is only the society that treats you differently. Otherwise, a poor and a rich both inherit the same things from their parents, at least genetically. Loka is the most adamant socialist voiced in this play. She insists she does not have the soul of a servant and refuses to think of herself as subservient simply because she was born in a working class. No. She falls in love with Sergius and calls Raina by her first name. In doing so, she eschews conventions and promotes her own equality. Blanchlet persistently identifies himself as a poor soldier and loves Raina because she was kind to him and in fact fell in love with him before she knew he owned a chain of hotels and therefore had a claim to a great fortune. Perhaps Raina's greatest virtue is her ability to see past class division. This is especially notable considering how wrapped up in the meaning of wealth and aristocracy the pit cops are. They speak down to the servants and seemingly cannot go 5 minutes without mentioning that they have a library. Ultimately, the play depicts those obsessed with their wealth and class to be foolish and shallow, and further suggests that those locked into their class positions are stuck acting a role that keeps them from their true selves, from actual happiness. Obsessed with class and wealth, they are foolish and they are locked up in a defined role. They are not happy, they are not true to themselves. The next theme is youth versus maturity. Shah's play investigates the difference between young and old, inexperience and maturity. Bluntschli repeatedly distinguishes between the young soldiers and the old soldiers. The young ones are reckless, idealistic, and brave. They carry extra ammunition and run into action. The old soldiers carry food instead of ammunition and often flee the battlefield. Raina is young and she seems even younger than she is. Bluntschli does not take her seriously until he realizes that she is 23 and not 17, as he believed. Once he is aware that she is older, he is willing to take her opinions and beliefs more seriously and agrees to court her. Raina's parents, meanwhile, and their servant Nicola are all old, are at least older than Raina, Lauka, and Sergius, who are all identified as young. However, unlike Bluntschli, they are not portrayed as particularly mature. Rather, in their more advanced ages, they have simply become entrenched in traditions and the status quo. Shah thus paints a complicated picture of age and maturity. Youth can be vibrant and insight change, but it can also be silly and naive. Age can mean realism and intelligence, but it can also mean a kind of disengagement and acceptance of even detrimental social norms. Shah's heroes in this play are those who have the energy, vitality, and vigor of youth, but the sensibility, maturity, and insight that often comes with old age. So they are very interesting characters. The last theme that we will be discussing here is heroism, which is very important and significant in this play. Another of the central questions of Arms and the Man concerns the nature of heroism. What makes a hero? What does it mean to be a hero? What responsibilities does such a label convey? At first, Sergius is painted as a hero. He led a successful charge, displaying immense bravery. He is physically strong, courageous, and handsome. He thus embodies a very traditional kind of heroism, but it is made clear that Sergius' actions are considered by more seasoned soldiers to be foolish. Though Raina and her mother fawn over Sergius, in part because Raina is betrothed to him, other finds him more of a clown than a hero. Bluntschli is a kind of anti-hero. He is dubbed by Raina to be the chocolate cream soldier, a moniker that inspires images of weakness and sweetness, because he typically carries chocolate rather than ammunition. He is older, more modest looking, and doesn't believe courage is a virtue. But by the end of the play, he is revealed to be both a better soldier and a far more desirable husband than Sergius. The question of heroism is a rich and diverse one. By wondering about what makes a hero, Shah engages various lines of thinking. What do heroes mean to culture? Who ought to be a hero? Or who ought to be a literary hero? Shah was writing in a time of social and political upheaval. The clash between socialism and capitalism was growing more and more, and the rise of new industrial technologies was exacerbating the already sharp class divisions and changing the cultural landscape. It was accordingly a time of artistic and literary upheaval as well. Literary romanticism no longer seemed fit to make sense of or address contemporary human problems which were related to socialism, capitalism, industrialization, and many other psychological and social issues. The Byronic romantic hero had been forsaken. What would the new literary heroes look like? By engaging these questions about heroism, Shah is asking questions about the future of culture and art. This was all about the major themes of the play Arms and the Men. I hope you would have liked it. Thank you so much.